Frogbitblog.
Well, hello and welcome to episode 62 of the Frogbitblog podcast. I've got Mark on from Thailand this episode. I haven't got Len. I was going to meet up with Len, but unfortunately I've done me back in, so I've been off work, so I've not seen Len. And I've got all my usual features, my Chrysal Cowboy, Hope It Hurt, all that kind of stuff. So listen on, hey?
Frogbitblog. The Frogbitblog.
Well, there's been some good news today. Well, good news on the surface, or so it appears, because the fact the Tories have decided to ban fracking, yep, they've halted it with immediate effect, but they say that they're waiting on new scientific evidence. And as Jeremy Corbyn said, yes, it's probably till December the 13th when the election's over, and they'll probably start it up again, because it does sound a bit like an election stunt. So I'm going to sort of wait on that before we sort of go cheering, thinking, yeah, there's not going to be any more fracking in the UK anymore. But we'll see. Well, we will come back to that one and see what happens, because it's one thing I can tell you in life, and I don't want to get political here, but never trust a Tory. Right, so what's been in the news? Fatbergs or Fatty Poobergs. I've mentioned these before. In fact, I did a sketch on them, but there's been another one. They've caught another one in London, and this is what it says. A 40-ton fatberg, the size of a double-decker bus, has been cleared from a London sewer by Thames water engineer who pulled out some of it by hand. Ugh, I hope they're wearing gloves. And what did they do with the rest of it? It says, the mass of fat, grease, and other materials that weighed the same as three red buses, it says, was discovered earlier this year clogging up a sewer in Greenwich, the water company said. Buses, three red buses. Has the bus become the universal measurement of fatberg? Red buses too. They have to be specific with the red buses there. Not any other colour, just the red ones, isn't it? It's quite interesting, isn't it, how these equivalent size things happen? You know, in landmass, it's usually an area the size of Wales, isn't it? That's the country, not the mammal, by the way. And it goes on to say fatbergs are formed when fat, oil and grease are poured down sinks and drains and combined with items that should not be flushed down the toilet, such as unflushable wet wipes, nappies and cotton buds. In fact, actually, just as an aside, I've seen some of those flushable wet wipes that happen to say, oh yeah, there's a warning on these flushable wet wipes. If you do flush them down, they're actually dangerous for all aquatic life. So, you know, if you're going to use them, just don't flush anything down the toilet. I'm going to give you instructions in a minute what you can flush down the toilet, okay? Matt Rimmer, okay, Thames Water Head of Waste Network said, this was a massive and disgusting blockage that took a great deal of effort and teamwork to clear and get the sewer working well again. I'm happy that our team was able to get down and work hard to quickly clear the fatberg before it could cause problems for our customers and the environment. We urge everybody to help fight the fatberg by only flushing the 3 Ps. That's pee, poo and paper, as well as disposing of fat and oils in the bin, not the sink. Actually, that should read 3 Ps and a T. So that's pee, poo and paper and the Tories. You can definitely flush them down the toilet.
The Frogbitblog.
Right, well, it's easy to slag off social media and the people that become social media stars. I know, I do it all the time myself, occasionally. Do it all the time, occasionally. How does that work? Anyway, and interestingly, I asked my students this week to come up with 10 questions for somebody famous that they admire. And I had some interesting answers and interesting choices. And one lad actually picked Keanu Reeves. Now, if you've listened to the show since it started, you remember I talked about Keanu Reeves a long time ago because he's a very decent fella by all accounts. And I was actually more interested in his parents and why they thought calling someone Keanu was a good idea. And I said at the time that it wouldn't pass the back alley test. And whether you give a kid a name, when you name your kid, you've always got to do the back alley test. So like if you decided to call a kid Simon, you'd go, Simon, your tea's ready. And if that works, then it's okay. But when you do the Keanu, your tea's ready, it doesn't really work. So they shouldn't have called him Keanu. Anyway, Back to the story. A lot of the students, when they asked them to come up with famous people, pick YouTube stars as the famous person they'd like to interview. And to be honest, I hadn't heard of any of them. So I had to nod and pretend that I had. But anyway, some of them YouTube stars have been doing good eco things. In fact, listen to this.
YouTubers doing good eco things. YouTubers doing good eco things.
Yeah, a group of YouTube stars have raised more than £4.7 million to plant trees around the world by rallying their huge numbers of subscribers. The American YouTuber Jimmy Donaldson, known as Mr. Beast, I'm sure we've all heard of him, was challenged on Reddit in May to plant 20 million trees to celebrate reaching 20 million subscribers on his YouTube channel, where he posts videos of extravagant stunts. Sounds great. He then teamed up with other YouTubers to create hashtag Team Trees project with a target of $20 million, and each £1 donation will plant one tree. And it was launched on October the 25th, and the crowdfunder has raised $5 million in just 48 hours, with 1.75 million coming from YouTube alone, and which the team claims is a new fundraising record for the site. All donations are sent directly to the Arbor Day Foundation, a US non-profit conservation and education organization dedicated to planting trees. They will plant the trees around the world, starting in January, with the aim of completing the project within 3 years. Brilliant, eh? More than 600 creators and social media influencers have joined the initiative, many employing creative tactics to encourage donations. Jacksepticeye, the top YouTuber in Ireland. Jacksepticeye, the top YouTuber in Ireland, with 22.9 million subscribers, hosted an 8-hour-long live stream in which he planted trees on the video game Minecraft for each of his viewers. Donations raising £153,000. Other stunts, including a gaming YouTuber donating $10 for each kill during a Fortnite tournament, and a technology channel building a tree planting cannon. Well done. It's good to hear, isn't it? Well done, all of you YouTube stars who unfortunately I've never heard of. But you really are.
YouTubers doing good eco things. YouTubers doing good eco things. YouTubers doing good eco things. It's not where you're from, it's where you're at. And you can't help it if you're a YouTube twat. Yeah.
Right, so I've not done one of these for a while. In fact, it's a bit like waiting for a bus. In fact, a big red London Pooey Fatberg-sized bus. Wait for one and then two come along at the same time. Anyway, listen on. A man accidentally shot himself in the face while raccoon hunting Wednesday evening, police said. The 63-year-old from Inkster was hunting raccoons near Sharon Valley Road in Norvell Township when he accidentally shot himself with a .22 caliber rifle, the Jackson County Sheriff's Office said. He then walked to a nearby residence for help and was taken by ambulance to Henry Ford Allegiance Health in a critical condition, police said. And here's another one. A hunter in the US state of Arkansas has died after being gored by a deer he had just tried to kill. Thomas Alexander, 66, and his age stops there, was hunting near the Ozark Mountains when he shot the buck and watched it collapse. Assuming the animal was dead, Mr. Alexander went to check on the body, at which point the deer stood back up and attacked him. He managed to call his wife. I'm not sure whether that's the deer or the hunter. He managed to call his wife, who rang the emergency services, but he was declared dead later in hospital. Now, I know I shouldn't mock this because it's not long to Christmas and some family member will be without a loved one and another family member has got a blown up face and he might die. So I think what we need to do at this point is pause and reflect on this sad occasion with an elegy to two fine men.
Oh, good, I hope it hurt, ha 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 ha. Oh, good, I hope it hurt a lot. Hey, oh, good, I hope it hurt, ha 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 ha. Oh, good, I hope it hurt a lot.
Oi! So yes, guess what I've been doing at the weekends? No, not that. Listen on.
Like a rise old cowboy, 'Cause autumn is here, so it's into the woods I go. A mycorrhizal cowboy.
Yes, I've been interested in mushrooms and fungus for a long time, really, but I've only just started taking it seriously as a hobby. You know, I do eat some, but mainly I just want to learn all about them. You know, like everything that, you know, spend a lot of time out in nature. It's good to be able to identify things and learn about them. So I do. I take my camera and I photograph most of them, and I take them home and try and reference them on the internet, because there's lots of really good websites. And I've also joined a group called Mushroom Spotters UK Facebook group, which has got some really knowledgeable people who constantly after they answer the question this time of year, is it a magic mushroom? Yeah, a lot of new members. Is it a magic mushroom? And usually they're not. And you think, God, you didn't eat them. You might have poisoned yourself. Now, I did say last week that I was a bit wary of taking too many, as it might be bad for the ecosystem, but I have been forwarded a report, which I'm going to read and talk about next week. You know, the studies that they've done to see whether it does damage the ecosystem. But I think it's fair to say with these things, really, is everything in moderation, isn't it? Yeah. What I've realised doing this whole mushroom spotting thing is how bloody hard it is to actually identify a lot of species. Because you think they all look the same, wouldn't you? Yeah, they all look the same, don't they? Yeah. I suppose that's a bit mushroomist to say that. Bloody mushrooms, they all bloody look the same to me. But what you've got to remember with mushrooms and fungus is they change as they grow. They change shape, they change colour, and also a lot depends on the weather conditions. So it's not that easy. And now I've got some that I can definitely identify, but there's a lot that I can't. And after going on, I remember last week I was on about the destroying angel and the death cap. I'd say the ones that definitely avoid eating are small white mushrooms with white gills, unless you're really sure or experienced. But there does seem to be a lot of people out there that pick them and fry them and cook them and go, hey, look at me. Do you know what any of these are? And people actually take quite a lot of chances. I'm quite amazed about how blasé some people are about being poisoned. But I learned this lesson quite early on because I found something in my local woods that was small and puffy, so I presume they were edible puffballs because I've read quite a lot how tasty edible puffballs. And I took them home and checked them, and I still thought they were. I thought, oh, yeah, they're close enough. And when I double checked, I found that they were actually called earth balls, that were the mushroom that was responsible for the most poisonings in the UK, as people mistook them for puffballs. But when you cut puffballs in half, they're white. But when you cut these earth balls in half, they're bright purple and definitely not edible. So I sort of learned that lesson quite early on. It's, God, I could have poisoned myself here. Yeah, I was desperate them to be puffballs when in fact there was something else. Anyway. So I've had the puffballs, and I do eat them. But in the spirit of inclusivity and right-onness, or wokeness, as people say these days, I'm not going to call them puffballs anymore. I think it's derogatory. They're now going to be called LGBT plus balls in the Frogbit household. And you know why? It's because...
a mycorrhizal cowboy. 'Cause autumn is here, so it's into the woods I go. A mycorrhizal cowboy. 'Cause fungus and mushrooms, I've heard they're really good for my health. Unless I end up poisoning myself.
It's that time of the week, fresh from his success at the Sydney Film Festival, which he didn't attend because he was too busy in Thailand doing a report from us. But yeah, it's time to hear from Mark.
Is he looking after orphaned elephants, or is he in the jungle getting bitten by ants?
Hello, it's Mark, the minimalist and filmmaker here. This is my second little report back from my Doing Good Eco Things world tour. So I'm currently still in Thailand. I'm about 2 hours away from the school that I was in at my last report. So I'm still in the Surin province, but about an hour to 2 hours away from the school. I'm staying on a elephant village sanctuary, so there's 5 elephants staying with us, and we stay in a little guest house. There's hammocks all around, so I'm currently sat in a hammock watching the elephants. So there's 5 elephants here, and one of them is in front of me right now, and I just want to talk a little bit about what I found interesting, what I was curious about when I came to the elephants. So the thing I was particularly interested in is to see the ethical line between what's okay when riding an elephant and what's not okay when riding an elephant. So these elephants, I did this tour through STA Travel. They do very thorough ethical checks that they don't send their tourists on any excursions which are unethical. So I know that this was checked out. But there's still people here riding the elephants. So I was really interested to see where's the line, where's what's okay, what's not okay. And I've actually found some quite interesting things. So the mahouts here are the people who train the elephants and ride the elephants. They are the only ones who would ride their elephant. So one mahout will have their elephant. That's the one that they dedicate almost their whole life to even to the point where they not sleep with the elephant in a sexual way, of course, but they sleep with the elephant, in that the elephant in front of me is currently in, it has like a kind of like a little fence around. It's got its own little private area with a shade over the top, so the elephant can be in shade so it doesn't overheat. And there's a tree house sort of thing at about the elephant's head level, in the pen, which is where the mahout lives, which he has this, it's like a platform halfway up with a bed, and he's got his speaker, and he's got his Bluetooth speakers in there, he's got his guitar, he's got a little kettle, a little kitchen area, and a little light, and that's where he lives. He lives pretty much with the elephant. So on a morning, the mahout could be lying in bed and the elephant's trunk could come in and wake him up. That's how close they are. They dedicate their whole lives to their elephant. So the elephant that they've chosen to dedicate their life to isn't taken from the wild. It's not one that has been roaming free. It's one that has either been from the was either bred in captivity, or it's been rescued from the cruel logging industry, or it's been rescued from the cruel tourist industry, which is where the difference is. And the difference being how the elephants are trained to take people on their backs. So the mahouts dedicate their whole lives. They love the elephants. They treat the elephants. Their routine week to week is dedicated purely to the elephants. Whether it be shoveling, cleaning the elephants out, whether it's going out and collecting food for the elephants, whether it's taking them down to the local river and washing the elephants and bathing the elephants and literally getting scrubbing brushes out and scrubbing the elephant's back. And everything they do is for their elephant. The tourist industry, of course, isn't like that. Tourists come in and the elephants are tortured and treated badly and disciplined and whipped and hit and beaten in order to take tourists, sometimes multiple people on the elephant's back at a time. And that's just a no-go in the ethical mahout elephant training. There's actually signs up around where I'm staying which say something along the lines of don't even think about asking to ride the elephant. So it's true that one elephant will have their mahout. Only that mahout rides the elephant. No one else rides the elephant. Don't even ask about it. Don't even think about the cruelty that will be involved in that. And that's really good to see. So there is definitely an ethical line between the tourist industry of having the mahouts ride them and the tourists ride them. A little moments I've seen with how the elephants and the mahouts interact was, so I've always thought that it does not hurt the elephants having a person on their back, but the size of the elephant versus the size of the human, the elephant wouldn't even feel it. It would be like when you see like parents, like mothers or usually fathers carrying their 1-year-old or 2-year-old child on their shoulders when they're walking along the beach and things like that. It would be like that, having the mahout on there. And actually the relationship that's built up between the mahout and the elephant was when the mahout got down, because so there's this mother elephant and she has a 4-year-old son as well, little baby elephant, and baby elephant was getting caught and tangled in her feet because they kind of tied them together to keep them together while they were walking them along to the river. not in a cruel way, just as to keep the mother and the son together, because the son's a little bit naughty and likes to run off and likes to go and do his own thing, and the mother gets a bit worried when the baby runs off. So to keep them together, they did that, and the rope got tangled. So the mahout jumped down, sorted the rope out, and then to get back on the elephant, the mother literally put her foot out and lifted it up to create like a lift, and lifted the mahout onto her shoulders. And that was a really, really cute interaction, which has clearly been built up with trust and a long-term commitment between the mahout and the elephant. They love each other, and the elephant would protect the mahout in the same way as she protects the baby elephant as well. So it's been really rewarding to see. The only time I've seen an elephant in distress is when the mother is left and the mahout goes out to collect sugarcane. So the mahout was gone and the mother was in the shade, and the mahout, the elephant was kind of rocking a little bit side to side, bobbing the head. So I googled that, like, what does that mean? It says the elephant's worried, usually about like where's the child, or where's if they're worried about someone or worried about something, not so much kind of stressed or bored themselves, but kind of the elephant's worried. But then as soon as the mahout turned back up, and he just actually cut the last record of this, because the mahout turned up and he's got a really, really loud truck with his knackered old diesel engine, but he turned back up on his truck, and the elephant immediately stopped bobbing, watched him come in, and the mahout went in there and spent some time with the elephant, and now the elephant's fine. So I think the distress that was shown from the elephant was actually her worried about the mahout not being there. The mahout was actually out collecting food for the elephant, so now she's fine. She's seemingly happy. She's having some lunch, which is sticks of sugarcane and coconuts as well. So it's really interesting to see the dedication that the mahouts pay to their elephants. And I can clearly see that there is definitely an ethical line between the tourist industry and the mahouts. So that's been really cool. So it's not so much people riding the elephant that's cruel, it's the method of training the elephant to take people on their backs, which is where the cruelty is. The mahout is fine. I was a bit worried. I don't have any ethical qualms about the mahouts and their elephants now, which I was worried that I would have. But no, I can clearly see that this is a nice bond from elephants who would otherwise have been at risk of poachers or hunters. They've been bred into this life, and they would not do well in the wild. So the best thing for them is to have a mahout and develop a human-elephant relationship. But yeah, I would never, ever, ever ride an elephant myself, because I'm not a mahout. I'm a tourist. And that's been made very clear to me while I've been here. So yeah, don't ride elephants, guys, unless you're a mahout. Over and out.
'Cause Mark is reporting from somewhere around the world today. Yes, Mark is reporting from somewhere. What has he got to say? So, Mark, talk. Tell us your tales. Have you been swimming with whales? Mark, talk. Tell us your news. Have you been racing emus? Mark, come on, Mark. Lovely Mark. Talk, Mark. A lovely Mark. Talk, Mark. Lovely Mark.
Thanks for that, Mark. That was great. And he's going to be in Australia soon, so I don't know if he's still going to be sending reports over. I do hope so, because it's interesting to hear about him, what he's doing on his travels, whether it's nature related or not. But thanks for that, Mark.
Mother Earth, her name is Gaia. The temperature is getting higher. Very soon she'll be on fire. So don't be a climate then. She's on fire. Her name is
Mother Earth, her name is Gaia. The temperature is getting higher. Greta has been... Greta, is it Greta or Greta? Greta, I'll call her Greta. I'll try and get it right. It's been in the news again. And what a year it's been for that young woman. And what an amazing ambassador for the climate crisis movement she has been. Because she's got such humility, hasn't she? She's always turning the emphasis away from herself and back onto the science. and the issues at hand. And she's done it again, so listen up. The Swedish climate activist Greta Thunberg has refused to accept an environmental award, saying that the climate movement needed people in power to start to listen to the science and not awards. She's been nominated for her efforts by both Sweden and Norway and won the organisation's annual environmental prize. But after it was announced, a representative for Thunberg told the audience that she would not accept the award or the prize sum of 350,000 Danish kroner, which is about $52,000. She addressed the decision in a post on Instagram for the United States. The climate movement does not need any more awards, she wrote. Not only that... Yeah, which is brilliant in itself. But not only that, in the same week, she's had a beetle named after her. So listen on. A tiny species of beetle discovered more than 50 years ago has been named after environmental campaigner Greta Thunberg. Scientists at the Natural History Museum in London have officially called the insect Nilleptodes Greta to honour the 16-year-old Swedish activist's outstanding contribution in raising global awareness of climate change. The arthropod, which has no eyes or wings, is less than 1 millimetre long and belongs to the Pitilidae family, which is made up of some of the world's smallest beetles. Dr. Michael Darby, a scientific associate at the Natural History Museum, said, "I chose this name as I'm immensely impressed with the work of this young campaigner and wanted to acknowledge her outstanding contribution in raising awareness of environmental issues." So good on you. I don't know if you remember, it's weird. What is it about beetles and eco-warriors? Because if you remember, last year I had Leonardo DiCaprio on the show after a beetle was named after him. And in some weird twist of fate, Leo and Greta have met up in America and there's pictures of them having a laugh and stuff. Well, I thought I'd try and give him a ring again. And now, just a warning, if you've not heard me talk to him before, I shall point out that he pretends to be Irish because he was Irish in Titanic and he's still trying to win Kate Winslet back. And that's his best bet, apparently, by trying to rekindle the flame and be Irish. Anyway, we tend not to mention it because, we think he's going a bit funny. I'll use the same number as I got last time and see if I can get in touch with him. Oh, here we go. It's ringing.
Hello, Leonardo DiCaprio here, Defender of the Earth. Top of the morning to you.
Oh, hi, Leo. It's Frogbit. You remember I've had you on my show a few times?
Oh, yeah. What the feck do you want?
Oh, thanks. Well, if you remember, Leo, you were on episode 26 singing I Want to Hold Your Antennae after a beetle was named after you.
Oh, yes, I remember that. It went like this, didn't it?
Well, my name's Jack from the Titty Knack. Well, they named a beetle after me. It had big eyes, it was ugly. And they found it at a waterfall. And it didn't have a name at all. Now, not a beetle like that Ringo. This beetle is Leonardo. I love it, yeah, yeah, yeah. I love it, yeah, yeah, yeah. I wanna hold your antennae. Woo! I wanna hold your antennae. Woo! And that's all I've got because I'm an actor, not a singer.
Yeah, it did, didn't it? How could we forget? Anyway, in a strange coincidence, they've also named a beetle after Greta Thunberg.
Oh, which one? I was Ringo. Is she George?
Not quite. But anyway, they named a beetle after her, and then a week later, you and this young climate protester meet up.
I know. She's great, isn't she?
I think it's pronounced Greta, not great.
Oh, you are one sarky fecker, you.
Anyway, yours was ugly and bug-eyed, if I remember correctly.
Hey, don't talk about it like that, you big fecker.
I'm talking about the beetle, you daft sod.
Oh, sorry about that.
Anyway, you've been saying good things about her, haven't you?
Yes, I called her a leader for our time, and I've got pictures of me and her all over my Instagram page.
Oh, well, hopefully that'll get you a few more followers.
I don't need any more, you sarky fecker.
Anyway, keep on doing good eco things, Leo.
I will. Can I sing again?
I don't think so. Not this time. My ears haven't recovered from the last one.
You're one sarky fecker, aren't you? Anyway, I'm off. Bye now.
Bye. Ah, Leo and Greta are busy mates and they both have Beatles named after them. How lovely.
The Frogbitblog.
All right, one last thing on this subject. If you remember last week, I talked about a Trump pastor saying that the Bible said that climate change isn't real because God promised there'd be no more floods. And there's another one this week. There's another Trump pastor. How many pastors has he got, for God's sake? For someone as ungodly as him, he sure has a lot of godbotherers around who think he's the second coming. Weirdos, aren't they? Anyway, listen to this beauty. This is from Robert Jeffress.
The only thing more fun than listening to President Donald Trump is listening to the Liberals whine that he had the audacity to skip the climate summit. I tell people all the time, this president is brilliant. He decides to skip attending a session on an imaginary crisis, climate change, and instead he chooses to lead his own conference on a very real problem, global persecution. God said he created the environment to serve us, not for us to serve the environment. This Greta Thunberg, the 16-year-old, she was warning today about the mass extinction of humanity. Somebody needs to read poor Greta Genesis chapter 9 and tell her the next time she worries about global warming, just look at a rainbow. What? No, just look at a rainbow. That's God's promise that the polar ice caps aren't going to melt and flood the world again.
Jesus, Okay, everybody, okay, forget the science, forget all the protests, just read chapter 9 in the Bible. That is all the proof that we need. How absolutely fucking mental is that? Why aren't these people in padded cells and instead they're in positions of power and influence? God help us. If you exist, do you exist, God? Help us, please.
Is it okay to talk about drugs? Is it okay? Gonna do it anyway. Is it okay to talk about...
Come on, give me 10 Brent presses and 40 kilos. You can do it. All right, coach. 1. Come on, another 2. Come on, 3. Come on, give me 4. Where's your 4? You gotta do 4. Okay, 4. Now, 5. Come on. You've only done 4. What's going on, man? I need 5. Have you got any crisps? I'm starving. Crisps? You get a protein shake when you're done. What do you want crisps for? Crisps and a Snickers, please. I need to nip to the all-night garage. What the fuck, man? Come on, give me 5. Stop talking. I really can't be bothered, man. I need some crisps. There you have it. CBD is very hip right now, isn't it? And it's turning up everywhere as people try and cash in on the CBD craze. So listen on. There's no shortage of products that are being filled, soaked, or sprinkled with cannabidiol, the non-mind-altering ingredient in cannabis, otherwise known as CBD. And the latest trend is sure to appeal to the wellness crowd. CBD stuffed fitness wear that supposedly soothes your sore muscles before they even start hurting. But while these products are the clearest sign yet of CBD's mainstream moment, they're also emblematic of how much of a racket the industry has become in so short a time. In August, the New York-based company Acabada Active made its world's debut, launching its line of CBD-infused luxury proactive wear. And this is what it says. The company's garments range from a $125 sports bra to a $275 jumpsuit. So that's $125 for a sports bra filled with cannabis, or a marijuana bra, as they're now known. And it goes on to say up to 25 grams of CBD are said to be packaged in each Acabada piece, thanks to microencapsulation technology that traps CBD droplets in tiny containers, according to the company. When the wearers exercise and rub against the clothing, the microcapsules break open and periodically douse their skin with CBD oil. Bloody hell, more money than sense, isn't it? Well, is it?
Is it okay to talk about drugs? No. Is it okay? Gonna do it anyway.
Right, well, I'm not sure about doing this one because it does involve animal experimentation, but as animals don't get harmed, in fact, they seem to enjoy it, and it's proven how clever they are. I'll go with it. Okay. Rats in a University of Richmond lab have learned to do something many Americans struggle with every day, successfully drive themselves to pick up food. The furry drivers were taught to navigate a custom-built rat car, and the findings suggest rats may possess a greater ability to learn tasks than previously thought. The experiment was the brainchild of University of Richmond neuroscientist Kelly Lambert. Lambert or Lambert, I don't know. And her colleagues created a tiny car out of an empty food container and retrofitted it with an aluminium bar. I don't think that's where you drink drinks, but an aluminium bar and 3 copper bars for a steering wheel. The copper bar steering wheel and aluminium floor created an electric current that can propel the car forward. The rats, when properly trained, could control the direction of the car by gripping the left, middle, and right copper bar with their tiny little paws. The scientists trained the rats by constantly rewarding them with Fruit Loops every time they touched and moved the plastic car forward. Eventually, the scientists went a step further and created a 4 square metre rectangular box for the rats to drive round in. The team gradually replaced the Fruit Loops further and further away, encouraging the rats to fine-tune their driving. They learned to navigate the car in unique ways and engaged in the steering patterns they had never used to eventually arrive at their reward. So they finally worked out that rats can drive cars. Now, I don't know why this is news, because those of us of a certain age will remember tales of the riverbank where they had rats, they had hamsters, and they had guinea pigs that could drive cars and fly aeroplanes. In fact, there was a film made about it not long ago. There was a remake with the voices of Steve Coogan and Ardal O'Hanlon, Father Ted, from Father Ted, and Stephen Fry. So, yeah, scientists, you do all these experiments, but us people that were born in the 60s have known about this for years, thank you very much. We've always known that.
But nature is clever, it's really, really clever. Nature is clever, it's really, really clever. Nature is clever, it's really, really clever. Nature is clever, it's really, really clever.
Right, well, that's all I've got time for this week. So thank you once again. Thank you very much for listening. And if you want to do a little rant or a little thing like Mark does, wherever you ever are on the will, feel free to send me something in and I'll put it on the show. Len should be back because we're going to be talking about allotments, because Len's just got an allotment, but I've not seen him for a couple of weeks. But he'll be back next time. So anyway, have a good fortnight and keep doing what you're doing and just have fun. Okay, bye.
Frogbitblog. Frogbitblog. The Frogbitblog.